This is the Wandering Mike.
Welcome everyone to the Wandering Mic. Today I'm here with Dalila. Hey Dalila, how you doing?
Hi, Mike. Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's a pretty beautiful day today.
So, yes, so it's here in California. I hear you're from New Zealand, so we're both enjoying some sunshine and sea and the ocean.
Definitely. Yeah. So
Well,
to get us started, if you just wanna introduce yourself to the people, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can go from there.
sure. So, my name is Delilah, and I'm originally from Europe. I grew up between Germany and Italy, and I started my career as a violinist, classically trained, first in Germany and then in Italy. So, two countries with a lot of classical music background, of course. So, I was very lucky to be attending the finest classical music schools, the Conservatory in Berlin, and then eventually in Rome. And then I decided to kind of enhance my music production and the knowledge of sound techniques by becoming a sound engineer. And for that, I moved to England, which is the country where the best school of sound engineering. Um, I was lucky enough to have one of my professor as a sound engineer was Alan Parson. Uh, Not many people know, but the sound engineer that recorded pretty much most of the Pink Floyd albums. So he was my mentor, my professor. Yes, it was such an honor. And then one thing led to another. From the sound engineer, I felt kind of compelled to uh, dive deeper into the art of sound and acoustics. So I became a physicist. I came to the United States to attend college and become a physicist because I realized that music is not only the notes we play, but there's a lot of science and numbers behind the science, sound and sound engineering and music. So I got trapped in this, and I dove into what I call the black hole of physics, and I'm currently split between the two careers. I'm a sound engineer and music producer for the MYA project, which is the project that comes from my name, Dalila MYA, thus MYA project. And I'm also work in research. So I work a lot with microwaves. When people ask me, what do you do for a living? I just reply Tesla stuff. They're pretty much where, if you remember, what Tesla, not the company we have today, but Tesla, the
But
scientist,
Nico
the
Tesla.
research he
Yeah.
was doing. Yes. So I do pretty much Tesla stuff in research. And for the rest
Correct.
of the day, I'm a sound engineer. And also I have a beautiful recording studio. That's where, the background I have here is my recording
Oh,
studio, um, which I built completely on a boat. So I literally
cool.
I do have a recording studio on water, which is the coolest thing. It's beautiful. I don't have problem with a background noise. It's very peaceful. I don't have neighbors, so I don't have to worry about times where when I wanted to record. If I have an idea in the middle of the night, I'm good to go. And that's pretty much my life now, based in LA and recording music and researching microwaves.
Yes, so there was a lot of things that I was directly interested in.
Hmm.
Like, if I come in some order, because the boat thing, I'm definitely very interested in. Um, but before we get to your recording studio, um, so what would you say, and has that changed during your life? What was your dream that motivated you? So you took us through your journey already in music and then physics. What do you think is the underlying dream that got you through your journey?
Well, because I started as a musician at a very young age, because my mother realized I had the perfect pitch, so I had the ability of playing anything by ear just by listening,
Right.
commercials on TV. So the choice of becoming a musician was mostly kind of purpose. It wasn't even a choice. What made
Mm,
me decide to dive deeper into the the technology part. So the sound engineering was, I believe, was during a road trip I had uh, with my family when I was a kid. And that was the year that Violator, the album from by Depeche Mode, came out. So I was in car and I listened to Enjoy the Silence, the first single. And my mind, I was about 9 back then. And I realized, okay, beside being a musician, I want to learn how to do that. So I want to not only I want to be able to play an instrument and play other people's music like you do very much in classical music, but I also want to be able to release and produce my music. So um, I'm very open about my devotion to the Depeche Mode, mostly because not only it's a band that inspired me as an artist, but it was almost like a catalyst. The album Violator was a sort of a catalyst. I listened to it, I devoured the album when it first came
Mm.
out, and I decided, okay, it's such a beautiful sound. I want to be more than just a musician. I want to learn how to produce that, how to record that, how to make it sound like that. So, thanks to Violator, I decided to become a sound engineer. So, answering your question, thank you to the kind of a dark wave pop, electro pop coming from Britain that made me decide to
Right.
pursue the career.
Right. So obviously, when you say it, it does make a lot of sense because music, in a way, is science, right? Because there must be a reason why we like to hear the things we hear, why some sounds basically um, get us to feel certain kind of emotions. It does make sense. I just personally never really thought of combining the two, like being a producer and also being a physicist. So, how did the study of physics like actually help you and understand you and form your kind of production of the music? Like, how did it help you in that way?
Well, it was a profound help and enhancement of my knowledge, music knowledge, because um, the study of physics opened a sort of a world which goes behind just the music and the notes. For example, as you shrewdly said, every frequency that we hear unconsciously produce a direct impact on our brain and our heart. So, for example, in physics, I studied what it's called psychoacoustic, which is the
Mm.
relationship between any particular frequency and the impact that it has on our body, even just at a water molecular level. We're not talking just about music. Any frequency. Let's say you have a background noise from a washing machine, whatever. It could be a microphone. It could be anything. Any frequency will directly influence your body at a specific level. It will influence specific organs, specific part of the brain, to the point that I've studied extensively the science of psychoacoustic to then realize that music has been used throughout history, particularly lately in the past century, either as a healing tool but also as a weapon. People sometimes don't know, don't understand that in the military, the CIA, the method when they have to interrogate criminals or terrorists, sometimes they use music, kind of to
Mm.
weaponize the sound, the frequencies to manipulate the brain of a person. So music can be used for torture. Frequencies can be used for tortures, and frequencies can also be used as a healing power. There are many scientists, as we're speaking right now, they're using frequencies to heal cancer. And it's science, it's not just pseudoscience or, something that we might think of sort of a hippie type of a, hypothesis. No, it is rooted in science. There are specific frequencies that can literally shake them cancer to molecules or tumors in the body, whilst leaving alone the good cells. So there are some frequencies that actually work so much better than chemotherapy because they just target the tumor and not the good cells. So we are discovering how sound and frequencies are actually the foundation of our life on Earth. Um, I studied also in physics that the theory of the Big Bang, the first, the big
Mm.
explosion that kind of we think that it's where everything was originated. It actually wasn't even an explosion. It was just a massive pulse of frequencies of sound that kind of emulated an explosion, leading a lot of scientists to believe now that what generates life, it's sound. There's a specific frequency that we know is called the Schumann resonance, the 7 hertz. And many, many scientists, including myself, we've done this experiment on campus. If you expose pure water to the frequency of the 7 hertz for about a couple of days, eventually you will see the formation of DNA in the water. So you will have
Oh,
DNA molecules starting to organize themselves in the water, which we all know that DNA is the foundation of every life. So literally now we're starting to understand that sound is actually the principle of life. And that's how important sound and frequencies are to our existence.
that actually makes a lot of sense. That's so cool. Because yeah, I
Yes,
mean, we have the visual stuff, but in the end, sound is all we live with. Like that's how we
absolutely.
get the information.
Yes.
That's
And it can also influence your study, your mood. Um,
yeah.
I work in the industry, and I'm not with any major label by choice, but I do know that at certain levels of production, when musicians have to release an album, they need to have a meeting with the producers, with the people, sponsoring it, because the message that you share with people is more than just the lyrics and the message within the song or the album. There is a lot of subconscious messages that are being shared with the audience. So many, many times, it's also a business choice to decide, even if it's a progression chord has to go one way or the other, or the choice of a key signature for a song. Many times is decided at a higher level of production just because it's a marketing strategy. So unfortunately for the people in, with I am an independent artist by choice because I choose to independently share with people what I think is right, what I think is the positive energy. But many, many, many artists unconsciously are led to produce stuff that might be harmful, or it's just a commercial choice. It's a marketing choice rather than artistic choice. So be careful with that. Be careful with the choice of music you listen to. Because what I tell people sometimes is choosing the music you listen to, it's a little bit like choosing a drug or a supplement to take. It will literally impact your well being.
Yes. So maybe if we can transition to your music with that. So, with your knowledge and how these frequencies work, so what is it you're trying to portray in your music? How are you trying to? Well, you said you're trying to give positive energies, but maybe what exactly are, I don't know if you can say it like that, but the frequencies or the what are you trying to um, create through your music in this kind of sense?
Well, my music as a physicist is a way to communicate with people. That the most important message for me is for people to remember that we have so much more potential that we're being taught. The human evolution, it's something that has been um, studied by scientists, but also there is a lot of misunderstanding of untold things. Um, in the age of the promotion of AI, to where now AI is becoming predominant as a tool, as artificial intelligence, we're forgetting that human beings actually have a capacity. Our We use only 10% of our brain. This is science. We know, scientists know that the human being only uses 10% of the brain at its best, meaning that when you're focused, when you're doing something with a particular focus, you're using 10%, but most of the time we use even less. What does it mean? That we've been lied to in terms of our origins, of our potential, of our brain capabilities. So in my music, I try to open people's mind to the possibility of evolving. So from the choice of my key signatures, the frequencies I use, the sound I love using synthesizers, analog synthesizers. I do love I have a collection. I have a Moog synthesizer that it's my favorite piece. But I also know that I use specific frequencies for specific sound in my synthesizer to where people feel enlightened rather than stressed or angered. If you notice, have you ever had that feeling when you listen to some music, particularly, heavy guitars or drums, where after you hear a song, you feel energized, but also you have a sort of tinge of anger? Like, okay, you know what? I am angry now. It's done on purpose. I'm not saying you shouldn't feel angry. You should feel whatever your heart feels. It's fine. But the problem is, we in a world where we're already angry and stressed and most of the time disappointed by the reality, we should not use music as an amplifier of those state of minds. We should use music to calm down, to rebalance, to ground. How is that done? By, the choice of the lyrics. Most of my songs are about the human origins and the evolution. My latest album, Dystopia, starts with a track called The Universe Begins. So that's the first sense right there. The universe begins to give the people the idea of, okay, let's have a journey into the spiritual, the universal, and find out that we're just a teeny tiny dot in a universal consciousness, which we only know of probably 1% of it. And the choice of a frequencies, the choice of the lyrics, the choice of the rhythm of my songs. I tend to avoid anything too fast, like I would say techno music, just because that this is another thing that I studied in physics. There's a thing called heart synchronizing with the rhythm. So the tendency of human beings to synchronize our heartbeat to the rhythm of a song. It is true. If we listen to a song for more than 20 seconds, our heartbeat will automatically synchronize to the rhythm of the song. So imagine if you're listening to fast techno music, your heart will pump fast. Tum, 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 tum. Of course.
Yeah.
If you listen to trip hop music, I don't know, massive attack, so you'll slow down to 90 BPM, so your heart goes down. And imagine what that does to your blood pressure. Imagine if you're a person that suffers from hypertension and you listen to fast music and your heart goes even faster. But if you listen to music that slows down your heartbeat, then the magic happens. So all the components, all the components of a song play a role in how you feel. You might not feel it right away, but subconsciously, your heart, your brain, your soul know. That's also the reason why it's been used many, many times, also to kind of promote um, subliminal messages. It's not something that it just, conspiracy theory. There have been in the music history, bands that put some subliminal message for their audience for whatever reason. I'm not questioning the why, but those are there and they're still being used. So it's not just a very romantic type of idea of, oh yeah, there's something hidden behind the lyric, behind this. It is true. It is absolutely true, and it's done on purpose. So always my advice to people: careful to what you listen to.
Yes. S So you mentioned the track "How the Universe Begins." You said how you also want to portray some kind of spiritual message. What kind of importance does spirituality have in your life personally? Because for me, I'm also very interested in science actually, and I'm also would call myself a spiritual person. And sometimes people don't really combine the two, and it's falsely said that like scientists can't be spiritual. I don't think that's true, but yeah, maybe you just want to tell us a little bit about that, what it means for you personally, the spirituality.
Yes, totally. First of all, let me answer your question. It is You are absolutely right. People think scientists and particularly physicists are mostly atheists or are non-spiritual people. There is a huge misunderstanding here. The problem is we tend to want to label spirituality with a specific religion. I do make a big difference between religion and spirituality. The idea of religion as the traditional religion that we've been imposed, I would say, in the history of mankind. We have Buddhism, we have Christianity, we have Islam, we have Judaism, we have Jainism, we have labels. And if we do not comply, if we don't follow one doctrine or another, it is automatically implied that we're not spiritual people. But things are changing because I see more and more. I'm noticing people starting to understand that one can be spiritual. As a physicist, I know many colleagues that do believe in a higher source. We call it the source.
Right.
The fact that we don't call it God does not preclude the idea of a higher spiritual oneness, which I do believe absolutely as a physicist, because um, there is no way that this all that we're living, the reality, it just happened by accident. We study in science that accidents rarely happen. There is something. I call it a source. I don't want to call it God for quite a few reasons. I do not agree with the idea of a male god, first of all. In all religions, somehow the god is always portrayed as a male god. I do believe in the genderless idea of the source, but genderless in the sense that once you go higher, the gender, the colors, the shape, everything becomes oneness. So becomes kind of a all at once. So I believe that the source is masculine and feminine at the same time. Uh, I do not agree with the idea of a malevolent male god, but I do believe in a very loving feminine and masculine combined source that possibly created or balanced things around, as well as I do believe in other species living in the universe, because it will be very, very pretentious and narcissist of humans
Yeah.
to believe that we are the only and only life species living in the universe, considering that we have not explored the universe at all. Humanity has a very limited knowledge of the universe, probably only the neighbor planets or the stars that we can see. But
Mm.
we are a planet in one galaxy of the thousand, the million galaxy that we know of in the universe. So it would be very limiting and pretentious of us thinking, okay, we're the only ones. one God made us, and then the rest of the universe is just um, empty and soulless. So I am not expect I don't go that far from believing that I know of alien species, but I certainly do not preclude the idea of other species. And the fact that empirically speaking, there is proof in this planet that other civilizations have lived before us. Other human species have been here before us. The 10,000 years of a human exile, whatever, 10,000, that's so to say, the years of human evolution, it's something very limiting. We've been here for much longer. Probably we're not the first cycle humanity. Probably there have been other species living here. So being spiritual is also for me implies the question mark and say, okay, I am not alone. Probably I don't know it all, and that's probably the greatest um, mm, lesson I got from the study of, studying physics. The fact that the more you know, the more you don't know. You realize that you don't know. Because the more you study, the more you realize that there's so many hints of some things that are being uh, undiscovered, untouched, unknown, that we can only speculate and being humble. The real key to be a honest scientist is to be humble and to never, ever, ever say on TV, trust the science. And I am mentioning now something that we've been listening in the past few years. Science, it's that thing that you question all the time. If you don't question science, then you go back to the Middle Ages of Europe when people fought to explain
Right.
humanity, that the earth is not flat. So if we maintain that concept of trust the science, because science it's something set, it's when we humans lose track of what really is evolution. In order to evolve, we need to question every day of our life, everything we know, everything we see, everything we study. So that was, you know, my kind of a, kaboom, the enlightenment throughout my studies, in a university.
That was super beautiful. And I don't want to go because again there was so much in there, and we don't need to go into um, too much physical detail about these things. But is that where you also get most of your inspiration and motivation? Just knowing, like you said, there's so much we don't know, a lot of galaxies, and then there's the whole question about time itself. Like, what is time? Like all these kind of things, and we're only here for this very little part of the universe of whatever. Um, so does that shape your life, like knowing these things and being, like you said, being humble? Is that where you get your motivation to just do whatever you want to do?
Yes. Well, being a physicist and knowing, embracing a sort of, um, knowledge of the world gives you one very great power of being limitless. Because um, humanity is stuck with the idea of fearing death, right? We tend to believe that we have been given one life, this is it, and then the fear of death as the end of it. uh, when you study physics, you realize that that the worst, misconcept is to believe that energy can die. Energy does not die. Energy transforms. So because we are energy at the time of death, I highly doubt that we just fall into this eternal sleep. Not at all. I do believe that that death is a transition. It's a transition to something actually very interesting, is the unknown. It's something that we don't know. Maybe it's the time where we're going to have all the answers, to our questions. We don't know. But the thing is, once a human is fearless, then you are more powerful than anybody else. because not having fear uh, prevents you from having limits, and then you can apply your passion, you can apply your beliefs, your soul, your mind to whatever you love. Because number one, I do believe that this is only one of the thousand lives that I probably have been living here and I will live. So I take my life, my art too serious. Like this is an experience. I do believe that a part of the experience is making mistakes, is part of being human, and revisiting things that you sometimes, pardon, fucked up. This, it's
Yeah.
something that it's human. We might learn other lessons in other lives. So my approach to my music is, first of all, I'm not here to make it to the mainstream. My goal with my music is not to have my video, featured on TV or whatever, or making the numbers, or attending the whatever the music awards. Not at all. My goal is to share the message, let it out in the universe. Once you release something, a molecule, a thought, a frequency is out there, and then the magic of we call the ripple effect happens. My goal is to touch as many souls as I can. If that means touching one soul and only one, it's a success for me, because I've touched another soul with my music. I've shaken something, and that will produce a ripple effect. So um I'm not really interested in in fame and fortune. This is more mostly a way for me to kind of put into words and art what I have in my mind, what I have the feel to share with others. And I think it's common with many, many artists. True artists never really cared about fame and fortune. It's more about, this is a purpose. This is something that I have to do, and I have to share it with people, and whoever resonates with my message. And if it doesn't happen, I will still be doing it. I will still write music and release it and record it. So I think the most important is the ditching the fear of whatever it's stuck by, in whatever society imposes us, that we have to fear. uh Fear of the disease, fear of that, fear of the neighbor, fear of the unknown, fear of the immigrant, fear of the politicians, fear of everything. We are imposed so much fear that at the end of the day, a lot of people end up being powerless because of an unconscious message. Once you realize that it's all very brittle, and that's probably just one of the many options, one of the many lives, then you become fearless, and pretty much anything is possible.
Yes. And I totally agree. Like that's always been a sign of like true art. It's just, and it's a sort of freedom as well, right? Not chasing this fame and fortune, but just doing what you want. Just actually what's inside of you, letting it out into the world, and then give it to the people and everyone, and take away from it what they need to take away from it as well.
Yes.
And maybe to use the transition of freedom, the freedom you have in your art by not being in a major label and stuff like that, is that what inspired you to build that recording studio on the boat as well? Because again, when I heard that, that sounded super cool. So was that kind of um, your mission to even more so be free and have the ability to do what you want, however you want to do it, when you want to do it? Was that what led you to do that?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, I started living on a boat full time about 10 years ago. So I started by
Oh,
living on a boat. Yes. So I actually, that's the situation. I have one boat as a recording studio and one as my apartment on water.
oh, wow.
Um, yes. Well, the choice was a kind of a financial, mostly because living in LA is super expensive. Um, And it's I see so many people being slave over rent and taxes and going crazy with 2 3 jobs just to make it out. It's really expensive. Lee is a very expensive
Mm.
city. It's beautiful, but also because it's very popular, and with the thing that we're so close to Hollywood and the studios, definitely it's not cheap living in LA. I met a friend that lived on a boat, and I was so shocked by his lifestyle of freedom, and the fact that it was economically convenient. It's definitely cheaper than living in an apartment. But I also
Mm.
realized one day I slept overnight on the boat, and it was the best sleep I've ever had. It was so peaceful and quiet. I decided, okay, you know what? This is gonna be my lifestyle. Then a few years later, I kind of I'm a huge fan of Pink Floyd, and I was watching an interview with David Gilmour, which built a recording studio on a boat in London, which is much
Mm.
colder and rainy than
Yeah.
California. So the weather is harder. It's a harder thing to achieve in England, waterproofing, soundproofing a boat. But I decided, okay, you know what? That is the greatest idea I've ever heard. And I decided, why not? I can do it. So I did some research on how to do soundproofing, how to trick the boat to where I don't have any water leak. I don't have any humidity. I don't have, I can record my music and not being heard from the outside. Now, there's something very important about boats. They're naturally uh, the perfect recording studio because boats are built with fiberglass. Now,
Mm.
fiberglass, of course, unless you buy a much older boat, in which case they used to be built with wood. But nowadays, since pretty much the 70s, boats are built in fiberglass. Fiberglass, it's a very thin and one of the strongest material that you can use to build and from a house to a fortress to a boat. It's bulletproof, it's soundproof, it's waterproof. So naturally, a boat has already a shell of fiberglass that helps tremendously. So the work I had to do to kind of enhance that, the material was uh extremely cheap to achieve. I just had to buy
Yeah.
some material, and pretty much it was like adding a 30% layer to soundproof completely and waterproof the boat. And that was the best decision of my life. First of all, it's a beautiful place to where if I need a quick break from recording, in the dark with the machinery, I just open the door here and I'm by the ocean. So I have a beautiful view. I see dolphins swimming, and then I can go back. Within 10 minutes, I have that moment of openness, and then I go back to work. I don't have to worry about neighbors. So if I want to record in the middle of the night, like many artists sometimes have the inspiration at 3 a.m. and you want,
Yeah.
okay, I want to do it right now. I don't have to worry about that because I don't have neighbors next to me. Um, it's extremely safe. The marina is one of the safest place with cameras, and security. It's economic. Rent on a boat goes for about $700 a month. So, and in LA,
That
I
is
think
pretty cheap.
yes. So, and of course, you have the maintenance of the boat because it's like having pretty much a car. So you want to be sure that you change the oil, the maintenance. Let's not forget the
Right.
boat as an engine. So it's really important to understand that the engine needs maintenance exactly like any vehicle. Rather than that, everything electricity. I have internet. I have everything I need, and it has been playing a huge role in for my music inspiration because I am in the best environment. I am like I'm living the dream, having the most inspiring scenic, background here. And I recommend anybody living by the water to give it a chance. Go to a marina, check out a boat, and see if the lifestyle suits you. For me, I will never go back to mainland because this is where I belong.
Yes, it sounds really really cool. I thought about living on a boat for a long time as well, but I mean, still have time, maybe at some point.
Yeah.
But
And it's something, and people think a lot of time people ask me, "Aren't you afraid of a tsunami or a hurricane or a
mm,
earthquake?" Well, let me tell you something. If something like that happens, the safest place to be is on a boat. Don't forget
uh,
something. If a tsunami happens, it happened in California. Uh, the water will flood the apartments, but the boat will follow the water level. So I'm gonna be always
yeah,
being afloat. A earthquake, same thing. The safest place to be is in the water. So when people think of the water as a threat for the natural disasters, yes, it's true. But if you look at what happened lately in the east coast of the United States, in Florida and North Carolina, with the latest hurricane that unfortunately they had, actually, the people who survived it were the people on boats, because the boat will flow with the water, will just follow the level of the water. So you might find yourself higher than a building, but you will still be up in the water, not flooded. So not only it's safe, uh, normally it will be safer place, even in the case of uh, a natural disaster. So no problem at all.
so yeah, a lot of good points for living on a boat.
Yes, absolutely. And
So
go ahead.
yeah, you basically by building the recording studio on your boat as well. Um, I mean, it is kind of the artist life, right? To like you said, just record whenever you feel the need to. But do you sometimes, or do you think that as an artist, a work-life balance is actually something you need? Or like, do you sometimes struggle with you're right there on your recording studio to just have some time to let go as well? Like, is that something you struggle with?
Uh, yes, unfortunately, I have to be honest. Uh, I got to a point in my life to where I rarely play music to chill or to relax. It's mostly either if I'm inspired to produce something, or because I work with other clients, because I do work for clients in my recording studio, so for third parties.
Hmm.
Or it's always kind of for me, work, because I've been doing this since I was a kid. So when I growing up with playing the violin, I would also be um, a concert violinist. I was a child prodigy, so I was always on stage performing for people and getting paid for it. So the music has been a work. It's been a job for me for so long that I cannot anymore split in between. As a matter of fact, I'm known, I have friends that invite me to do some, jam session, or like, "Oh, why don't you come and play for us for the party?" And I'm like, "No, no, no, no. For me, playing is working. If I'm coming to the party, I won't be playing, I won't be singing, I won't be doing any of that, because it's when I relax." So I find myself actually enjoying watching other people playing or performing. Maybe not beautifully, but doesn't matter. For me, chilling means to drop my instrument, drop the mic, and doing anything else. So I do have many other hobbies, kind of very unusual, but maybe not for a German born. But I love engines. I love Formula One, so you probably might relate.
Right.
I
Yeah.
love cars. I drive like I'm racing. I have an Audi, and I've always been driving German. So let's say for me, there's another outlet. So if I want to have fun, I literally go karting, and but music has become such so penetrated me as a producer, as my work, that I rarely relax when I'm playing. Beside, because I'm a violinist, that's my main instrument. Beside being a singer, unfortunately, the violin is very challenging in the holding the position. So, playing violin requires a lot of shoulders and neck work. To where I also have to maintain my posture by seeing a chiropractor, doing yoga. So literally playing violin is like playing at the Olympics, being playing soccer or a very challenging sport where after 2 hours you really need a hot shower and then relax. So, um,
Right.
answering your question, to be honest, no, I do not anymore use my recording studio or my instrument as a way of relaxing or just having fun.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because yeah, it is a very beautiful work, but it is still work. So,
Yeah.
um,
But I find that
and you,
being I've had in common with a lot of other professionals, because I have friends, other artists, from painters to writers to comedians. I have friends who are
right,
comedians, and we gather together like, okay, can you do some comedy for us? No, the answer is no, because
right,
for a comedian, writing the script is work, is a job. So requires a lot of focus. So even comedians, when they're having a good time, they want other people to be fun, not them. So, unfortunately, it's a
yes,
sort of a course. When you do something for a living for so long and you have to focus and make it a career, uh, it does not. It loses that this sort of a aura of entertainment or something place. It is work.
um, now that you mentioned, some of your friends, I'm just curious as well. Do you believe that it is important as an artist, whatever kind of art you do, to surround you with other artists as well? Do you feel that you get a lot of inspiration by hanging out with, well, because especially for you, you're a physicist as well. So do you feel like hanging out with other artists, whatever it may be, comedian, painter, or singers, that this inspires you more than being around physicists? Or maybe it doesn't. So do you feel a difference there?
Um, there is a difference, of course, because the topics we talk about are slightly different. Um, there is one thing I usually, with my colleagues of physicists or scientists, we always end up talking about, the essence of life. Particularly with physicists and
Right.
astrophysicists, it's all about, okay, why we're here, what we're doing, where we're going,
Mhm.
what's all is this? Are there other species? Should we? What is time? Are we in a matrix? Because that's a question that pops up very often.
Yeah.
It's not only about the movies, and literally the fact that if you get deeper into quantum physics, the principle of quantum physics is pretty much that nothing really exists as matter as we know it. It's all frequencies. So uh, we might not even being living in a material world. It might be an hologram. We don't know. So those are the kind of topics that kind of makes me feel almost like a philosopher at the end of a conversation with my colleagues. With musicians is different. It's the conversation always goes down to, I love that guitar or I love that microphone, this chords or this lyrics. So there is more of artistic approach to life. But then one thing that I find in common between artists and scientists is the fact that we don't quite accept reality the way it is. We need to know more. We need to dig deeper. There's something, very few people know. Let me give you an example of this. My interest. This might shock you, actually. Uh,
Hmm.
Very few people know that there are a lot of scientists and people in art that are actually physicists. Let's start with
Well,
yeah, Brian May, the guitarist of Queen, is an astrophysicist.
really?
Um,
Oh, wow.
Maynard James Keenan of Tool is an astrophysicist, graduated from legit university. And I will shock you even more. One of the most renowned astrophysicists and mechanical engineer is Mr. Bean. Do you know the
What?
comedian Rowan
Yeah.
Atkinson? Yes,
Oh, wow.
he's a published astrophysicist, meaning he's a PhD. So not only he graduated as a scientist, but he published books. So you see, sometimes scientists also are linked to art because the two are not
Right.
as divided as we think. As a matter of fact, Rowan Atkinson tried to be a successful scientist, and it did. But then his co-workers, his colleagues, scientists, colleagues, once they told him, you know what, you're fun as hell. You bring us something here. You should look into it. And that's how he became a comedian because he was told that as a comedian, he was even more powerful than a scientist. But there are many, many artists that are actually have scientific degrees. It's just that people think that the two are so separated, but they're not. Um,
Yeah.
that once again, the thing that probably we share in common is the thing that we artists as well as scientists want to look beyond what is the reality, beyond what is being taught, beyond what's been told, beyond the labels, beyond the governments, beyond all of these things. So there is a thirst for more knowledge, and you can get access that knowledge through art or through science or both.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's a good vessel to, like in your case as well, to get your message across in art, in entertainment, because that's how you reach a lot of people, rather than they probably don't go and search up Mr. Atkinson's like research paper. So
Yes.
it's probably an easier way to make it accessible to a lot of people. Um,
Yes.
a question, I don't know if you or if anyone actually has a perfect answer for that, but what I heard so far in this conversation as well is the thing that a lot of people um sadly don't live up to their potential, don't do what they want because of all these societal hindrances. In your opinion, what do you think we could do to like get more and more people onto that route, onto discovering, onto being curious, onto just yeah, figuring out what are we, what am I, what do I want to do, these kind of things.
Well, you're right. There's no specific answer. You probably a couple of tips. Number one, that for me was probably the best decision I've ever made in my life. Dish TV. Don't have a TV in your house. Do not. I use internet. I watch, stuff on a Hulu or whatever, movies,
Right.
but just dump the TV, the cable TV all at once for many, many reasons. One, it's scientific. The 50 hertz used as a carrier, and in Europe it's 60, but the carrier for the pixeling, it's extremely harmful for our brain. So the exposure to the cable TV, the traditional TV, is extremely harmful for our brain, no matter what. No, doesn't matter what you're watching, whatever, from the show to a documentary, it matter. It's just a pulsing light, constantly that's kind of a the brain is exposed to for a long time is extremely harmful. So instead of let's change perspective on the medias. Uh, People are underestimating nowadays the power of the internet. We use the internet for mostly shallow things, the social media, the scrolling the Instagram. Instead, I say ditch TV, use internet for what it is. is an free you global source of knowledge. You have potentially the greatest encyclopedia. You can actually get a degree for free by just accessing information on the internet rather than going on social media, which is fine. Take your time to do the selfie on Instagram is fine. I do it for my music, for my promotion. I'm always there, having to taking pictures and doing the video. However, instead of being fed information, just using the remote to choose between things, between choices, use the internet for the full potential. This is the number one tip. Number two, start going out instead of trying to connect with people in the digital world. Go out. I have my favorite yoga studio where I find, that's the source of most of my friends, the yoga studio. And you realize that sometime the universe connects you with the right people. It's a matter probably of energies we are emanating, because I find myself always attracted to people. Then within 5 minutes we're already talking about the topics that we agree on. Like I met
Mm.
people, and literally after 10 minutes we were talking about alien species on Nibiru, which is a topic that I will discuss probably you know after years of knowing somebody. But then, so sometimes it's just a matter of the love attraction. Go out, and what it's supposed to be, your circle, your connection will come to you. But we have to make the effort to go out, not getting on the internet,
Right.
because between dating apps and social medias, you will never interact at a frequency level with a person through a camera, unfortunately. It has to be a human interaction. So less social, AI social, more organic social. I say
Excellent.
the real social media is going for a walk. Um,
Yeah.
it's very interesting. I live in probably one of the best s- s- places on earth for as far as climate, as weather. I'm in Southern California, and yet the majority of my friends go online for dating, for finding people, to find friends. And I'm like, okay, you can take the bike and literally go and experience the most beautiful sunset that you can have, and just find people to talk to on the beach. And it's not happening. That's when we're losing our connection. And I think it's part of a greatest plan, because AI is being presented to us not for the real potential that it has, but actually as a substitute of our own intelligence, which is wrong,
Yeah.
because AI should not substitute your intelligence, your ability to perform certain tasks. No, the AI should enhance what already should be our gift, our skill, and instead it's being taken the wrong way. So I am a little bit concerned on that side, where unfortunately the dark side of AI is taking over humanity. And yes, as a person very much inspired by the Matrix, the trilogy, the original,
Yeah.
the first Matrix, I do believe that in a less Hollywood style, but we are living a little bit into the Matrix, that cycle to where we're surrendering too much of our willpower, of our freedom to the machine, hoping that the machine can fulfill some gaps or something, some emptiness. It is not going to happen, because AI might not have a consciousness, but every time you give power, whether it's a machine or a person, whatever has a sort of a brain, not a consciousness, but a functioning brain, that machine will want to have more and more power. The ego that it's unfortunately produced by the artificial brain will not stop. It will seek more and more power and more independence. The AI will at some point demand to have the same freedom that a human has, and it's gonna happen. And at that point, I challenge people to draw the line between what it should be serving us, not controlling us. And yeah, I leave that to the matrix prophecy of the oracle.
I mean, that's an interesting topic as well, in my opinion. I mean, AI takes it to a whole different level, but just technology in general, like you said, we have all these inventions, as you mentioned as well, like, well, you mentioned all of them: television, internet, and now AI. And they can obviously be used for good things, to give us knowledge, to give us information. But at some point, I think we just went into a wrong direction. And now everywhere, all these things are just distractions. So
Yes.
I think that's the point you made as well. We just need to be more conscious of our own time, our own energy, where we want to like put that energy, and not just give in to the distractions and be reactive, but rather be active and conscious with what we do.
Yes. I agree totally. Well, I think we're living in a cycle, and like every cycle of humanity has a beginning and an end. It doesn't mean it's a universal end; it's just the end of a cycle. So, I think humanity, the personal life of each of every of us is reflective of what this the cycle of humanity. So our birth and death represent the beginning of the end of a cycle, and it's a microcosm of what the bigger picture is. So in a way, humanity is just growing from the child that used to be to an adult, and then eventually is gonna grow up to be an old man with wisdom, but then it's gonna come to an end and giving then birth to another child, and you know, uh, that's something. Now I'm referencing one of my favorite movies, 2001: A Space Odyssey by Stanley
Mm,
Kubrick. So that's the movie. If you want to understand, I think quantum physics, I invite people, particularly the newer generations that might not know about the movie, to go and
yeah.
revisit that masterpiece, because there are so many keys of understanding in 2001. To where then you realize that it's all cyclical. It's all like a beginning and end, and then a new beginning, new end, and then it's so it goes. It's just a universal cycle.
Well, just to ask the obvious question, where do you think we currently are in that cycle? What stage?
Well, I in this I take reference from the Hindu philosophy, and I specifically mentioned the philosophy, not religion. I'm not talking about the gods themselves, but in the Hindu tradition, they refer as this cycle of humanity as the Kali Yuga, which for me, I think is the most accurate way to describe. It is unfortunately the last stage of a cycle to where we need to experience self destruction. Particularly, there is a sort of oppressing the feminine side of the world. And by feminine, I don't mean women and men. I don't mean it gender wise. Feminine and masculines are what we refer as a physicist as two particular forces: protons and electrons, with the masculine being the protons, the positive charges, and the electrons being the negative charges. So in the universe, we have life wherever we have a balance between protons and electrons, which in certain religions translate into masculine and feminine, which makes sense because women are by nature more charged negatively, so we have more electrons. Males have more protons. So that said, we're living in an age of a sort of a self-destruction, because it's almost like a dragon eating his tail. And part of it, the Kali Yuga, Kali is a feminine force. Yuga means destruction. So we're living in a moment of humanity to where we are. It looks like we're in decline. And it's part of a cycle. Unfortunately, in order to have a rebirth, sometimes you need to have first destruction. It's part of the universe. In physics, we study the collision between two stars that eventually implode and create a new universe. Our universe, the Milky Way, was created by the implosion of two stars colliding, destructing themselves, and creating a universe in which we live now. So our origins come from the destruction of two very old stars. So when I mention destruction, is not in a negative way. It's just part of of a cycle. Let's say that we are, as a species, we have reached now the highest point of coexisting with the machine, with the AI. We're reached a point to where we're almost kind of reaching this transhuman agenda, to where AI and human beings are quite possibly will be coexisting. Look at what Elon Musk is doing with Neuralink. Very, very soon, you're gonna
Right.
have bionic humans, literally with microchips implanted in their head, in their body. That's something debatable, but it's happening. Once we reach that point, unfortunately, it's going to be a sort of downfall to where we have to reconnect to our own powers. So, what I said before, not believing that we need microchip implanted in our body to enhance our skills and our potential. No, no, we do have it. It's just been dormant, it's been hidden. And we could get into molecular biology. We could stay another hour where I could explain you exactly how it's been done throughout the 1,000 years. But I don't I don't want to digress. The thing is, we are in my opinion living now the stages of the matrix, to where we're gonna reach a point where we're gonna understand. Okay, this has gone too far. We've given too much power to the AI, and unfortunately, to take that power back means something has to be taken down and rebuilt. So, I do believe very much in astrology also, and I think it's the closest to religion that we have. And me being a Scorpio,
Mm.
I have the nature of transformation. So I see, the rebirth and rebirth and transformation as part of a very natural cycle, and I think that's where we are. Uh, I'm noticing more and more a lot of people feeling that, even though there are people that might not have, our knowledge, or not doing research, or just living their lives unconsciously, but there is something deeper in their conscious to where they feel like, okay, there's something wrong, something needs to change. And now we've been seeking change for almost, I would say, on a quantum level, astrophysically, for about 2,000 years. So this is a change, a
Mm.
transition that is not just something in the past couple of years. No, 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 no. This is something that uh, the past 2,000 years have been a cycle that now it's coming to an end. And then what's next? I don't know. I am not, I don't remember. I am part of the source, but I don't remember
Right.
what is going to be. Uh, but I'm very much looking forward to it. Why not? Any transformation. Um, Another thing that you realize in physics, there's in the universe there is no such a thing as negative and positive. Universe is balance. Astrophysicists particularly understand that the key, uh, uh, it's very wrong to use the word negative and positive at a quantum level, because the goal of the universe is balance, not positive and negative, balance. So, where even at a astrophysical level, death or war or anything negative and positive, they counterbalance. As long as we have balance, then we can have life and progress.
Yes, that's always been very interesting to me as well. Just like you said, to see where where we go as this energy is when we like just shed the human shell, and yeah, who knows what comes next, what kind of, I don't know if I'm using the word correctly, but dimension or things that we can't even comprehend with the human body. Like, yeah, this is all so very interesting. I actually have a very uh, egoistical question. I don't know if you, but if someone or me personally wants to delve more into these physical, astrophysical, quantum physical things, do you have any resources that you could recommend people to look into how they could educate themselves about these kind of
Yes,
topics?
I actually do, because there is a beautiful online TV called Gaia TV, um,
Diet.
which Gaia, yeah, like the name of the earth.
Mhm.
And yeah, and for people that don't know, our planet is named after the mother. What it's in a Greek mythology, the mother of humanity, Uranus and Gaia, gave birth to the Titans. So our planet is named after a goddess as well as the other planets. And that's why you very important to understand how astrology plays a very specific role in our knowledge. But Gaia TV, it's amazing. So you can start a subscription that they offer this beautiful deal for the first 3 months, $1. You can sign up from everywhere. And Gaia TV, it's a channel, it's an online TV where you can find physicists, biologists, yogis, gurus, Reiki healers, every type from spiritual um, professionals to scientific professionals. Um, that's where I pretty much I came across to Breg Gregan, which is one of the most renowned molecular biologists that talks about the science of epigenetics. For the people that don't know what epigenetic is the study of how what we've been taught about the genes carrying genes being related to um, family disease or the transmission of certain condition is absolutely wrong. The ability of our genes to adapt and actually reshape the molecular DNA in our body. So you can learn about epigenetics. There are astrophysicists. Dolores Cannon, an authority on reincarnation. If anybody's interested in diving deeper into the concept of reincarnation, um, but it's probably one of the biggest video and documentary libraries of science and spirituality. And I've been member of Gaian for 10 years now, and mm, I have to say, I gain a lot of knowledge of part of the, sector of the science, also of spiritual topics of astrology. I pretty much started most of my astrology studies of the source of my knowledge comes from Gaia. They have a beautiful um, actually seminars that you can take where you can just sign up for a list of seminars that you can watch at your own time. Uh, there's no, you have the freedom of choosing when and where watching whatever. And after 3 months of a $1 subscription, I believe it's a $70 a year. But if you compare $70 to any university degree or even just buying a book, it's much
Yeah,
cheaper.
still.
And
Yeah.
they also have this beautiful thing where you, as a member, you can share some of the videos, your favorite videos, with friends for free. So you have about, I think, 10 links per month to where you can share. You watch the documentary, say, "Oh, you know what? I know this person that will love this, but they don't want to subscribe to Gaia," so you can just send the link for free. So I highly recommend to check that out because, um, and they're based in Colorado here in the United States. So Boulder, Colorado. I attended some live seminars, like a 3 day conference here in LA, because they travel a lot. The people that work for Gaia, and one of the greatest authority on Gaia is David Wilcock. David Wilcock is an authority on. He's not a physicist. He's a theoretical physicist, but he has a series of 573 episodes. So it might take
Oh,
you about a couple of years to get through all of it. But I guarantee you, is like seriously taking a college degree into metaphysical, mm, I would say theoretical physics and metaphysics, and he connects all the dots between physics, astrology, the origin of humanity. He got it all. He's not a scientist per se, but as a journalist, he made this massive work of putting together all the pieces of the puzzles. He also talks with great details about alien species. There's something that some people don't agree with, because he talks with whistleblowers, with people that actually worked in the military, particularly in the United States, that allegedly have had a connection with alien species, particularly the Draco-reptilians, the Pleiadians, and the Lyrians. But those are things that some people might debate. I would say you, as a person, have the you can make the choice to believe or not believe anything you see, you hear, and watch. So, um, but it's really, it was a life-changing experience. So it took me about a year and a half to watch all the episodes, because I had
I
to watch
felt.
them 3 times. It was so much information, and so many people, like guests
Mm.
on the show, that I also researched, about their credibility, because of course, if somebody's talking to you like, "Oh yes, I actually was abducted by the aliens," you want to do some research about these people and check their background and what they've done. And I found out that a lot of guests he had on his show that were actual people in the military, that were actively or veterans. So, I'm not saying that I believe it. I trust the military, but people that have had such a career, and they're still actively part of the intelligence, I give them some credit. So definitely, I will suggest you and your listener to give it a try. And first thing on Guy, and check it out with David Wilcock.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. And it sounds very interesting for everyone, actually. It just, as you said, like they can go into whatever topic they want to. Um,
Yes,
so yeah, thank you for that. I'll definitely check.
yeah. And
Uh,
it's beautiful because you have, the different topics, the sections of the website where you can choose. Okay, I want to do some research on aliens or astrophysics, or you want to. They also have yoga classes that you can take online. So great, also to
oh,
keep your
that's cool.
body.
Great.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah. Well, Delilah, we could probably talk for hours more. There's so many questions that I could ask. But
totally.
thank you so much. It was very, very valuable, and there was a lot of interesting things that we talked about. So, uh, to end this, maybe if you just want to tell us again if they enjoyed the conversation, if they like the topics we discussed, and they want to listen to some music that portrays these values. If you just want to tell us about your music again, where the people can check it out, and if there's any links, I'll put them in the description as well. So,
Yes. So yeah. So my music is available on all streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, all of them. And the easiest way to find me is through the official website, myaproject.com, spelled M as in Maryland, YA project, one word, myaproject.com, or my personal website, Dalila Mya, DALILA MYA.com. And then you find all the links to my music. Um, Topic for next interview, you'll find that there's a problem with Google censoring my latest album, Dystopia. I won't tell you why, but it's something that might require another hour of. But Google, in yes, censoring Dystopia and actually
Oh,
unwillingly put explicit lyrics label on The Universe Begins because apparently. Um, by making a reference to the tradition of religion and kind of including in my lyrics this question, okay, maybe what we've been told is not true. It's cause for censorship. So not only my
understood.
first track, "The Universe Begin," is apparently is labeled with explicit lyrics, which is not. It's a clean lyrics, but the album in question is Dystopia, and the name was kind of inspired by the past 3 4 years what I've been living as a human being in this very dystopian world, and I live it, I live it to that. So Dystopia is available on all streaming platforms, mya.com and myaprojectmusic.com and DelilaMya.com. You can Google me, you'll find me there. You won't find the album, but the album is available on Spotify. Dystopia, myaprojectmusic.com.
Perfect. Well, once again, I'm genuinely thankful for your time. Thank you for sharing all your insights.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you
And
so much.
of course, with that, bye everyone.
Bye. Thank you for having me. Bye.